Thank you, Gary, for inviting me, and I hope I'll do a good job today. It's, to tell you the truth, is one of the easiest jobs you can do when you come to talk about failures, because it's something you find every single day in your life. So as an entrepreneur, it's quite funny, because normally people invite you to talk about your success and how many good things you've done in your life, and what a great success you've had, and how much money you've made. And so we were quite used to hear about all this, those stories. And when Gary told me about the idea that they were having of talking about failures, I thought it was a really great idea, because the real truth, at least from my point of view, is that the real truth you have to focus as an entrepreneur, or at least as a potential entrepreneur, is that you're going to be failing a lot. And there's a lot more failures than success, and you have to be ready to accept that. At least that has been my story, my own story. If we measure success in terms of money, which we normally do, I can say that I have succeeded quite well. I mean, in terms of net worth, I'm, thanks to God and a lot of work, I'm quite better than than how it was 25 years ago. But in terms of, so that's one thing. But in terms of personal success or personal failure, I have to tell you that I keep learning every day. I cannot say that I have failed on my personal knowledge or in my personal experiences, because I really have not. But I have to say that I have a lot more to learn in the future. And so, telling you this, I would like to split my short speech into different, how do you say this, into different areas. The failure or the success in terms of money, and the failure or the success in terms of personal experience. And I would love to focus you, or at least I would love you to stay with the idea of that the most important thing at the time of developing your own personal experience, it's seeking success in the personal way. Money will come, but if you do things, and that is, again, my personal experience, if you do things only because of the money you're going to make, you're going to be failing. I mean, that's going to be the biggest failure you can probably have. Yesterday night, I was having dinner with some friends, four the presidents of 4 companies that are listed with us in the MAB, which is the secondary market in Spain. And we were discussing, and one of them told us that he just came back from the San Francisco area, and that he was very impressed, because he thought that he was going to meet people really interested in creating great companies, and in creating, in creating things. But his conclusion was that he met people working a lot just to make a lot of money, or at least to make sure that Google or one of those big companies was going to be interested in buying their own company at one point. And so he told us, look, it's like, I've been with people that it's like a loop. They're trying to make a loop in which at some point I'm down in the downside part of the loop, and sometimes I am in the upside part of the loop. And it is something that the culture in which we are really living can really generate. So once I've said this, let me explain you a few of my biggest economical failures, which is why I'm here, to explain you the failures. My first company was a failure. My first experience as an entrepreneur was a great failure. It was very funny, at least, so we had a great time. We started a company. I was doing my MBA, and during the MBA, I really got sick of the company in which I was working for. It was a big bank, a big American bank, and I was really tired about, you know, the way things were doing and the things, the way, you know, I was really tired. I wanted to do something by my own. So we found this patent in Saint-Gobain, which is a chemical company, and they were creating some special paper that could be rolled, and we thought that we could make sunglasses out of that plastic. And so we started a company, and the first year we sold about 7 or 8 million sunglasses. It was a great success. Then we thought we were on top of the new Coca-Cola, so we bought places we decided to make our own fabric and to develop the whole system ourselves, and instead of buying things from out of Saint-Gobain, do it ourselves, buying from Saint-Gobain the patent, and we did that. And at the end of the second year, we sold again like 8 or 9 million, but we had to close the company because we didn't have money to pay the bills. So that was my first experience. Not bad, you know. We lost everything. My second. I will go back later to the different experiences to point out some points. My second failure. It was a different story. I went to a country called Ukraine, next to Russia, at the time when the communist government was failing. This was, I think, it was 92 or 93, and I started dealing with a whole region to develop a new agricultural system with them. I realized that sunflower seeds in the world was being paid at $185 or $180 a ton, and I could get sunflower seeds from Ukraine from $15 a ton. So there was an incredible difference between both prices, as you can imagine. So I started working with the kolkhozes, which are the name of the farms, the ranches there. They're basically owned by their own people in their own countries. And I stayed almost for 2 years living there. I got an agreement with all a huge area in the east of Ukraine, and I've got an export license from the government to export 100,000 tons. And at the end, also, I've got the buyer on the other side buying me the 100,000 tons at $185 a ton. The problem in Ukraine at that time was that you were not able to pay the farmers $15 because they didn't want the dollars, because they didn't know what to do with that money. Their problem at that time was that they didn't have diesel to put on the tractors and to have fuel for their heating themselves, because at that time Ukraine was not paying the crude oil to Russia, and therefore there was no diesel in the country. So I went to Russia. I stayed for those 2 years negotiating with the companies in Russia. I met Abramovich, by the way. At that time he was starting. We had several meetings, so I contracted from them the crude oil. I contracted the pipeline to pass the crude oil to Ukraine, and I also contracted the refinery. So at the end, what I was doing was basically giving diesel to the farmers at a price of $15 the ton of sunflower, and selling in the port of Ukraine the same sunflower seeds at 185, and this multiplied for 100,000 tons. So if you make a few numbers, you will understand how big that business was going to be. The problem was that at that time we're also starting the mafias in those countries, and one day we filled up the first train of sunflower seeds. It was a long train with almost 200 wagons. So imagine 200 wagons. I mean, it was a really long train. And that train had to do about 500 kilometers from the place where